Бывают улучшения после некоторых
Недавно она принимала
медицинских.
иммуноглобулины, и ей стало лучше.
На иммуноглобулинах не становится лучше. Раньше был эффект от гормонов, но гормоны ей не часто.
Подозревали, the first time, suspect radial nerve entrapment, and then she was treated, and recently she принимала immunoglobulin, and she had a good result after that. But I consider it can be a spinal amyotrophy distal form, but I don't know because she has the reflexes and she has neurogenic patterns like a motor neuron disease. But all nerve conduction study is good. Is not problem with this.
And the muscles?
In the muscles, good too.
Muscles are good as well.
Yes, good as well. But maybe slightly increase amplitude of muscle funerated radial nerve.
Just try to
Some
spread your
increase
finger.
amplitude, but nerve conduction velocity is normal.
Spread like this,
not
like this.
blocks.
Like this. It's weak.
It's
very,
weak.
very
It's
weak.
weak.
Very weak. The ulnar nerve is weak. Tuk, tuk, tuk. Okay. And here, is good sensation or not?
Yes.
And here as well?
Not sensory.
No sensory.
No sensory problems? No sensory problems. Okay. Try to lift this finger. Very high. Weak. Extensor and proprius. So radial nerve, C8 is falling out. Median nerve. Try to turn your hand like this. No, not force. Just turn like this. Yes. Okay. The other side. Turn. Pronator teres is good. So it's more like C8 and C6, C7. So C8 ulnar nerve, C8 median nerve, radialis C7. Try to do like this. It's more ulnar than radial nerve. Ulnar is a bit more, yes. So and the sensory nerve. So it's pregangliar system. So and okay, please stand. Try to extend your arms like this. Just to the degree. Okay. Axillaris is all right. Just relax. Try to flex your arm like this. Turn your arm to that side. Okay. Try to flex. Biceps is all right. C5, C6. Try to flex. Okay. Try to merge. Do like this. Yes. Okay.
Это ваше обследование, я узнаю.
C5, C6 radialis is good. C5, C6 nerve is good. So C5, C6 is perfect. C7 pronator teres is good. All of them. Okay, your hand. Flex your finger. Just flex like this. Yeah. Bit less. This one is less. So it's really C8, T1, C7 that's the most important problem. You agree? So C5, C6 is good. C7 is also quite right. It's more C8, T1 and a bit C7. And she has no sensory problems. So it's pregangliar lesion on these root levels. So C7, C8, T1 on both sides. Both sides. And how is her?
But she had not good up. She has
weakness in proximal muscles.
Okay, please sit down. So just extend your toe. Extend your toe. Extend your foot. Okay, flex your foot. Extend your toe. Okay, and here, good sensation. Good sensation.
I have a sensation disorder.
Okay, so this is peroneus. So then we go to the sciaticus nerve. So you just flex. You just turn your foot inside, like this. Tibialis posterior, S1. is a bit weak. Okay, this should be more. Extend. Peroneus longus, L5, is weak. So S1, tibialis posterior, peroneus longus. So it's sciatic nerve already, sciatic nerve. Now you try to flex. Right, all right. Hamstrings are good. You try to extend. It's good. Sciatic nerve. Sciatic nerve, but no sensory problems. No sensory problems. So it's high. It's not plexus. It's also preangular lesions. But L4 is quite all right.
Plexus is preserved. It's tricky.
It's tricky.
And
okay.
The proximal weakness of the quadriceps femoris. And I investigated. And
so what are the sensory nerve condition studies? Ramus superficialis, nervus radialis.
Yes.
Where's the amplitude? This
amplitude 11 and 8. It's not problem in sensory. It's motor.
Oh my God! Such an examination.
Sensory is very good. It's preserved. And it's we could see neurogenic
patterns on all muscles.
Yes.
Okay.
And some fasciculation we could see.
But how come that in the upper trunks and the upper roots she has no problems? I think we should check those muscles, C5, C6, C7, with myography, because C8, C1, there's for sure a problem. Even those upper roots, C5, C6, there are no problems.
Я сказала про fasciculation. She noticed she has some fasciculation sometimes.
Okay.
But she suffered from this disorder 25 years.
So we will not solve the problem today, for sure not. But I'm quite interested to see if there is no neurogenic denervation here in the C5, C6 muscles, C5, C6, C7. Okay, so what muscles we're going to do? So this, and this.
Yes.
C5, C6, C7. Biceps. Deltoideus. Supinator. So C5, C6 radialis, C5, C6 axillaris, C5, C6 musculocutaneus. The sensory you did, we don't have to repeat. Those are quite interesting muscles. And paraspinal muscles you examined?
I did it, but it was a very big potential, maybe 7,000 microvolts. It was a motor, I suspected motor neuronal disease and distal form. Because, but she had response for immunoglobulin.
She had a response?
Yes. And it's tricky, but she is a doctor and she tries to do many examinations and many treatment, try to do it, because but she has not appropriate diagnosis.
Does she have conduction blocks?
No, but you can see not conduction block, because not conduction blocks.
And temporal dispersion, the duration?
No, I couldn't see.
Okay.
Extensor indices.
Okay.
Not conduction blocks.
Okay, just to repeat for everybody, so this lady since 20 years, 25 years, weakness in more in the distal part than in the proximal part? More in distal than?
Proximal part. Если можно, can I repeat?
Yes.
Девушка болеет 25 лет. Сейчас я стала. Сколько вам? 25 лет. Сейчас ей 43 года. Вы же прослушали. У нее начиналось все с падения пару пальцев в зоне иннервации лучевого нерва. И оно то лучше, то хуже, то лучше, то хуже. И вот она действительно обращалась к врачам, никто ничего не говорил. Никто ничего не находил. Думали вначале это туннельный синдром лучевого нерва. Потом вроде бы блоков не находили, она продолжала искать какие-то другие решения. Потом вот у нее присоединилась слабость, сейчас уже ей тяжеловато вставать. Потом она сдала на иммуноглобулины, раньше их никогда не находили, то есть уже подразумевали, может, это мультифокальная моторная невропатия. Нашли иммуноглобулины, дали иммуноглобулины, стало лучше. Но сейчас наросла еще слабость вот в проксимальных отделах, то есть ноги присоединились буквально совсем недавно. Раньше ее беспокоили только вот эти падающие кисти, скажем так. И сейчас немножко атрофировалась правая лопатка, да, в зоне лопатки, как я понимаю, да?
Ну это изначально было, а вот еще атрофия немножко была здесь, вот в стопе.
Ну вот сейчас она прошла курс иммуноглобулинов, ей стало
Да,
лучше.
мне стало лучше, потому что у меня стала падать правая стопа на фоне третьей инфузии, у меня поднялась стопа. Ну, то есть не полностью, но мне стало лучше, легче ходить.
Okay. So we'll first just do a needle examination. Only needle examination because you did a lot of nerve conduction studies. So we would like to examine some muscles over here. So the top of the arm, it's perfect. It's perfect. Okay. Can you pass me a green needle from the middle bag? Green one. Okay.
Здесь, когда локоть, здесь все нормально, да? Дело там ничего нет. Ничего нет.
То есть фактически ей тоже не могут никак поставить диагноз, потому что все, что не ищут, все, что не делают, она же сама доктор, она сама инициирует. Никто не может ничего найти,
Она мне 25 лет, как-то не разрешается эти сроки. Немножко.
Ну, бывает, периодически сейчас лучше немножко.
Ну она, в принципе, она прогрессирует, почему она хуже? Она хуже, то есть 25 лет назад было гораздо лучше.
Ну да, но за 25 лет, если какой-то процесс даже КВДП какой-то,
но сенсорных нет. У полиневропатии скорости нормальной, нет блоков, нет демиелинизирующих никаких.
Little needle. Okay.
Что мы делаем? Я так тоже.
Больше там некуда.
Relax completely. Relax. Oh, you just try to. Okay, more to this. You just try to turn your hand like this. Okay. Supinator. I'm looking for supinator. Turn. The other side. You turn like this. You turn this. Okay. More. Relax. Again. Turn. Turn outside. Yeah. Okay.
Он меняет, да, положение? Вот сейчас. Уж очень глубоко было.
Okay. Turn.
Я знаю, как не жирится. Сейчас пошло, видишь,
Yes, but you have to relax the arm because otherwise I'm in the brachioradialis. Okay, turn a bit more. Relax. This is supinator for sure. I'm under brachioradialis. I'm in the supinator. Yeah, I'm in the supinator now. So supinator, radial nerve, C5, C6. So So it's very high radial muscle. So it's quite important muscle to know. But you have to put the needle quite deep because there is brachioradialis as well. But now we are in supinator muscle. Okay. Again, a little bit more. Just turn it. No. The other side. Yeah. Don't flex it, just okay. We turn like this, yes. Turn your hand. Relax your elbow. Okay, do like this.
I can't relax elbow and turn.
Just okay. Turn your hand to that side, to the other side. She has weakness of the supinator. Sorry, just turn. A bit more.
Я немножко так вдруг.
Нет такого, чтобы оно так перекалывали в 4 места, вперед, вниз,
Relax.
все, да? Что такого нет
Again.
вообще.
Это менее травматично.
Ну, во-первых, менее травматично, во-вторых, как-то не так ужасно выглядит, когда у нас.
Okay. Relax.
После каждого пола
Just.
все равно
Ну, это
Okay.
экспириенс.
This is brachioradialis. This is brachioradialis. What do you think about this pattern? Everybody agrees? Increased frequency, the motor is not turning, it's not running quite alright. Okay, more. How many motor units? Two motor units, okay. What about the duration? Relax, a bit less. A little bit, just a little bit. Yeah. Just a little bit. A bit more. What about the duration? Of a motor unit?
Well, you put only 1 second. Can we
Of course.
change the switch?
Okay, of course.
Thank you.
To 80.
To be big.
Okay, yes. Once more, please. What is the duration?
Yes, 67.
We're gonna stop here for a while. Just relax. Now we're going back. Okay. Okay. Do it once more. Do it once more.
Метод квадрата идеально. Туда-сюда. Ну, тоже достаточно много.
It's big duration, so it's clear. Yes.
This is all motor units, but then
Yes, chronic neurogenic pattern. Chronic neurogenic pattern, C5, C6, brachioradialis, and then underneath there was supinator as well, but supinator was very weak pattern. So I'm more sure about the brachioradialis than about the supinator, but in fact there are two C5, C6 muscles of the upper trunk, so of the upper roots as well, because we had already some certainty about the C8, T1, but now we know as well about this upper nerve roots. So what can I do more? Deltoideus, the triceps is C7, so it's perhaps less interesting, but the biceps and the okay.
Остальное будет приятнее. Остальное будет приятнее.
Приятнее.
Девушка 25 лет уже делает эти обследования.
Нет, я не
Она
любитель.
уже знает, что такое ожидает.
Да.
Такие самые, в общем-то, как какие.
А бицепс, ты думаешь, приятно?
Ну, все было.
Не знаю, мне кажется, бицепс еще более.
Okay, just relax. A little bit more. A little bit more. What do we see?
The same. Pretty same.
A bit more. We hear new. This is increased frequency. Okay. I'm gonna show it again. Okay. Try to flex. Try to flex a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. What's that? Complex repetitive discharge. Complex repetitive discharge. Okay. Let's stop. Check.
Комплекс repetitive
Комплексные
discharge.
повторяющиеся разряды.
А вон
Только
они
то,
опять
что мы
пошли.
видим.
This is a complex repetitive discharge, and here again, frequency 100 between 50 and 150 hertz. Complex repetitive discharge can happen in any myotonic or myopathy or neurogenic disorder, but there is something in the muscle happening, but we cannot put a diagnosis on the CRD, on the complex repetitive discharge. But this is a complex repetitive discharge. Okay.
Это круто, мы такое увидели.
It is absolutely abnormal.
Well, we cannot make any conclusion about this. Is it myopathic or is it neurogenic? Is it acute or chronic? But if there is a higher chance that there is some pathology when we see this complex repetitive discharge. Okay, but this is not myotonia. This is not myokemia. This is not a cramp. This is not a tremor. Yesterday we saw a tremor, and the tremor is very different amplitudes, but this is all the same amplitude. This is a complex repetitive discharge. You see here that the amplitude is going down a little bit over here, but we cannot put a diagnosis on it, of course not, but there is something happening in the muscle. Okay. We go again.
Физически, да, психологически.
How many motor units? 3-4 motor units, yes. I turn the needle a little bit. The amplitude is changing. Now the amplitude is like all the same. I turn the needle back. This is the difference between turning the amplitude, just the needle. Patients, they feel it, but it's not like putting the needle again in the muscle. Okay, again a bit more, maximum. Okay, now when I ask for maximum contraction, we hear like the motor wants to start a bit harder, but it does not start completely. So once more. It starts, but it's all the same. And it does not really start. The motor is like running at low speed. Okay, this is increased frequency. Okay. This is gone. So, this is C5, C6, biceps. What muscle do you want more dealt with?
Maybe that's it.
Dealt with, okay. It's hypertrophic. There's some hypertrophic. Okay. Relax.
Why do you prefer anterior part of deltoid?
Because this one is a bit hypertrophic. There's some hypertrophy of this part, so you're going to see if this part is more easy. And also because of the movement. For this part you have to move to the machine, so there's not so much place. So I wanted to.
Потому что пассивное гипотрофирование. И здесь легче ее напрягать, потому что она будет это сбегать и удалять этот
Okay. Try to just.
Это уже движение.
A bit more. What about these motor units? Big? Wait, how much is the amplitude? How much is the amplitude?
Well, it's about 6
No.
millivolts.
No. 1 millivolt, and it's about 3 to 4 millivolt. 3 to 4 millivolt. Okay, look here. The gain is 1 millivolt,
Yes.
which means that 1,
2, 3, yes, 3, 4.
4, 3, 4,
Sorry.
3, 4. So
It's still big.
it's
Still increased.
it's quite big, because in this deltoideus muscle we are expecting like more polyphasic answers. So it's like quite strange that we have such nice motor units in deltoid muscle, but really too big. I don't really know if it's really too big, but it's quite big, and they're quite big compared to other motor units. We're going to look for the frequency.
Не совсем поняла ответ.
Что большие,
Нет,
но
я
недостаточно
поняла.
большие по сравнению с тем. Ну, видно, он еще по тех
Процесс
других.
начинался с
A bit more,
дистального,
a bit more.
поэтому там они старые, большие.
Well, maybe that's because the process starts from the distal when we see the old neuroorganic changes. And here this is a proximal, so it could be this the reason.
A bit more? No, not just. Yeah. Okay, you hear? Increased frequency. Bit more. What's this? What do we see? Increased frequency. Increased frequency. Okay. We go back. For example, here it's 1 motor unit. It's firing. I don't count, but it's about 20. So there is increased frequency of the recruitment. So there is a poor recruitment of this muscle. So now we can have a debate. What's the most important? The amplitude of 4 millivolts or this increased frequency? For me, this is more important than the amplitude, because the deltoid muscle, the biceps muscle, sometimes there are a lot of polyphasic patterns. We are happy when we see this kind of motor units, but to say that 4 millivolts is really very neurogenic, I'm doubting a little bit. So I'm more happy to see this kind of increased frequency in this kind of muscle. I don't know if you agree or not.
I'm trying to agree with you. But for me, 3, 4, it's a big.
It's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. Yes, I agree. I agree.
Well,
Assessment of
for sure,
Mhm.
when you try the distal muscles and proximal, but it's still neurogenic.
Yes, for sure, it's neurogenic.
What about the duration? Do we assess the duration of motor unit?
Спросить, набирают это мне, ну, чисто теоретически, для протокола.
Duration is 14.58. Okay, we can check the duration of another one. Like from here to here. If duration is more than 15, it's too big. Okay, so the duration is 16.67. So the duration of the motor unit is also quite big. It's 16.7, so it's a big duration. And the phases, it's 1, 2. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 phases. So it's also kind of polyphasic pattern. So there is some kind of re-innervation. Duration is wider. It's polyphasic pattern. There is increased frequency. So it's chronic neurogenic pattern for sure. Okay. I'm going to examine one distal muscle to see what's happening over there.
Let's guess it will be bigger.
Okay. Okay. Just try to spread your fingers a little bit. No, not do that. Spread like this. Spread. It's difficult. You cannot move this. Okay. Okay, to my finger. What did we hear? Increased frequency. To my finger. Okay. Okay, good. Bit more. There is increased frequency. We just see here and can see increased frequency. Now I'm looking for the big pattern because I want to see the amplitude is really bigger than normal. Okay, do it once more. There are not really very big potentials. It's like 3 to 4, but it's not more than 4. Here they are. Okay. Here you can see very high frequency, very chronic neurogenic pattern. I want to see if there is a lot of polyphasic. Here we cannot have a good appreciation of the duration of the motor units because there are too many motor units. We ask too much contraction. Then we get the highest amplitude, but we cannot give any measurement of the duration because they're all stuck together. So it's very important to get this small contraction, this principle of Handel. Like I told you yesterday, first of all we get a small contraction, 1 motor unit, a little bit more a second motor unit. If we ask for this maximal contraction, we can have an idea of the highest amplitude, but we cannot measure anymore the duration, and really there are polyphasic answers or not, because now it's one big mess on the screen. Okay, so we did proximally and distally. You want me to do a motor nerve conduction study of the biceps or not? Not needed. Not needed. Not needed. Okay, so for the if we would do it for the biceps, we would just put relax. We would just put like the active electrode. I will not do it, but I will just show.
Nerve conduction study of biceps.
Yes, yes.
Делает двигательное. Посмотрим сейчас моторный ответ мышечно-кожного нерва. Бицепса.
So if we want to test the musculocutaneous nerve, we do the LABC, lateral antebrachiocutaneous nerve study for sensory nerve conduction study, and for the motor we do the musculocutaneous to the biceps. We put 1 electrode on the muscle bulk and 1 on the tendon. Okay, enter distance should be more than 5 centimeters, and then we're going to stimulate over here. We stimulate here. So we'll put the stimulator like this. Okay, we would better do it when she's completely laying down, because then she's more relaxed and then we have no interference. But the most important part is that she has to hold her arm like this, because if she moves her arm, this electrode will move over the muscle bulk, and we really need to best position over the belly of the biceps, and then we are stimulating over here. So this is the position for the to stimulate the musculocutaneous nerve to the biceps. Okay, so we have neurogenic pattern. We agree about neurogenic pattern in proximal. And
Я, извините, очень бы хотела увидеть, как он простимулирует там мускулы кутаны, или на мне потом. Да?
Could you take this?
Could you show
examination?
this? Because I never see this methodic stimulation in this point. And we will see the component of potential.
Yes, and maybe recognize block.
Ниже получается.
Если он посмотрим на ниже и выше. Я тоже там
Ни в одной мы не видели функции.
Наждачка, которая уменьшает сцепление, видно на электроде с кожи.
обрабатывает кожу. Вот перед этим он говорил, что надо покрутить рукой, чтобы правильно определить двигательную точку для бицепса, чтобы поставить не ногу какую-то, а именно на хорошую.
Okay, little shock. Bit more. Shock. Bit more.
То есть под передней можно сказать, что стимуляция передней головкой дельтовидной.
Уже 60 миллиампер.
Little shock. Little shock.
Ну, это практически подмышечная впадина начала.
Ну да, так он тут с поверхностью.
Мы можем сделать на моей следующей пациентке.
And when you take this point,
We can take the plexus as well. We can take the plexus as well. But now there was some recent publication that there's a good point to stimulate. So there's a point, and we can take then the plexus, and we can look for conduction block between both.
can
But
you put a little bit more on the
And-
axilla
yes,
side?
we can do, but then we're going to stimulate the whole plexus.
Yes.
We're going to stimulate the whole plexus, and sometimes you just want to stimulate a bit more, like a part of the plexus. But we can put it in the extra. If I put it in the extra, we'll have a huge answer.
How strong can you press it? Stimulation.
We can press it quite strong. Yeah. Okay. Now you're going to feel something.
Сильно. Вот у девушки надо спросить, достаточно сильно? Сильно, да?
One more.
Ну мы же еще же вот такие вилочки.
It's painful. It's painful. It's painful.
Не, но мы там не делаем вообще. Подмышечные методики. Не делаем, конечно.
А вы подмышечные не верба тоже стимулируете?
Okay.
Я так
Oh my
понимаю, что
God.
это новая методика сейчас описанная, которая он хочет определить его проведение между вот этой и вот
Это
этой.
здорово было.
Да, ну просто здорово, но как вы видите, даже там, где может быть и нет блока, тяжело получилось. Здорово, конечно.
Ну, теоретически не просто.
Ну это здесь важно в данном случае.
Конечно.
Потому что это всех можно так лучше. Да.
Может, это нужно лежа вот так вот руку?
Он так и говорил, да.
Что должно проще.
Поднять руку, или подниму, тогда будет.
Okay, once more. Just relax. Relax. Okay, so this is the answer. No, because here there was some problem of the machine. Okay, so now we are stimulating at 58. So now in front of the axle, not in the axle, but in front. Now we're going to stimulate a bit harder. Okay, once more. This is musculocutaneous. So you see in front, and I'm not stimulating the whole plexus. I'm just stimulating the part of the plexus. Sorry. Okay. So and now we have to compare with the other side.
And can we compare with the air points?
Yes, of course. So now we're going to go to ERP. Okay. So this is axilla, and now we're going to go to ERP. But in fact, it's easier to stimulate when she lays down because now it's more.
What you say before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So ERP, we just go the half of the clavicular. Here we go to the back. I will go a bit lower. Okay, one shock. The answer is different. The answer is different.
That's what I'm asking.
Because why? Because
I was asking.
because I'm stimulating the whole plexus.
Yes.
There I was not stimulating the whole plexus. I was stimulating only part.
So, in your opinion, it's much better, it's much clearer for
Yes.
to stimulate
Yes,
here.
because now you see the waveform is different. I have a waveform, and even I record here, but I record here much more than just one
So
muscle.
when we are doing the deltoideus and biceps, and we are stimulated the herpes point, we have to think that this ответ,
Response.
this response is not quite adequate. Yes.
Yes, yes. This is the reason why. This is the reason why we are stimulating here in front, the musculocutaneous, because then we are stimulating like just, of course, perhaps more than one muscle, but this waveform, this lower waveform, is many more muscles that is inside, and we get a latency that is the same latency as the distal stimulation. And say, okay, how come that the latency is still the same? Because we are stimulating many more muscles in the plexus. We have an answer of the biceps, but it's not only the biceps, it's also brachioradialis, brachialis, and we are stimulating all other nerves. So I think it's better to stimulate over here. But then we are looking for proximal conduction blocks, like in your first patient, and also here in the, for the lady, we can look for proximal conduction blocks, and then you say, okay, we can stimulate at the point of ERP, but in ERP, you see what answer we get. We get some summated response of different muscles. So it's not always very easy to find some conduction block in this manner. But for the musculocutaneous, it's better to stimulate here in front. And it's very easy to stimulate. So it's very easy to stimulate here in front. Okay.
There is no block, yes? There is no block. Conduction block.
Well, I think we are not sure. First of all, of course, we need the history. And second reason is that I'm stimulating the second line, approximately I'm stimulating the whole plexus. So these latencies there is a difference. They go from 3.2 to 4.2. So there is like a normal latency difference, but I'm stimulating more than one muscle.
Yes.
When I'm stimulating the plexus. So this can mascade, this can cover a very proximal block. So it's always very difficult. She has a perfect anatomy, okay? She's very skinny here on top, so we can better exclude a block in this kind of constitution than somebody who has a very difficult anatomy, but we cannot completely be sure. We cannot.
How can we make a conclusion?
Well, if the question is, are there proximal conduction blocks, I would say conduction block, but I take the responsibility that I'm not very sure. And on the other side, I'm stimulating here, but what about the nerve who's coming from the neck? There is still another part who can have very proximal conduction blocks, and I did not stimulate in the neck. I did not stimulate in the neck, so there can still be a conduction block between the neck and ERP, of course. We are looking for very proximal conduction blocks. So on this small part, look, I stimulated here and here. On this small part there's no conduction block. But what about the bigger part that's coming from the neck? So I should stimulate the neck, or we should do magnetic stimulation of the neck, I don't know, but there is still a risk that we miss a conduction block. But I don't find a conduction block. This is not a conduction block for me. Okay?
Okay, and what is this? Okay. What it can be?
Okay.
Neurogenic pattern and in any muscles, and I am sure if we will continue our investigation we will find neurogenic changes in other muscles. And what is
In
this?
25 years, can we have a spinal amyotrophy, some atypic form?
Yes.
I don't
that-
know.
this
Atypic.
form.
So her sensory
Very good.
is completely normal.
Yes.
So it's some.
So maybe really spinal.
And in family? In family?
No.
No family. No family history. Must be some spinal muscular atrophy. And spinal muscles? You did spinal muscles.
No, only paraspinal, not all spinal. But it was neurogenic pattern.
It was neurogenic pattern. So some kind of spinal muscular atrophy, no?
Yes.
Some kind of spinal
That's
muscular
what we are
atrophy.
thinking about.
Yeah, spinal muscular atrophy.
But why she had good result after immunoglobulin?
Ну, она так ответила про иммуноглобулин, я очень хорошо слышала. Она сказала, вот нельзя сказать, она почувствовала, что вроде бы и легче стало.
Ну, вы понимаете, с кистями нет. А с ногой, если я не могла пройти, а потом я встала и пошла, то я могу сказать, что да, однозначно я вижу эффект.
I think with basic EMG you cannot give any more information than what we just are looking now. But on the other hand you have to be just like very sincere and say like, okay, we don't find any conduction block, that we are not very sure about this very proximal part, and this is the part where the most important conduction blocks happen. On the other side, for multifocal motor neuropathy, the most important nerves for conduction block is not the musculocutaneous, it's ulnar nerve and radialis. Nerves ulnaris, nerves radialis are the most important nerves to look for conduction blocks for multifocal.
It
Okay, so yeah.
But can we try to do maybe MRI brachial plexus, and maybe we can find some changes there or not? In the if we predispose, it can be multifocal amyotrophy.
Of course, for multifocal you can do MRI, but what you're going to do if the MRI has no deformities. I think MRI is one thing, but you can also do the gangliosides, the antibodies for multifocal motor neuropathy, anti-HQ1B and anti.
But he had.
And it was normal. It was normal.
It was not normal.
It was not normal. She has those antibodies.
Yes.
А какие? У нас gangliosидов делают очень мало.
But
Раз, два,
previous
три.
time she had not. But now she
She has.
has.
Делали их после того, как она делала.
До иммуноглобулина.
Да.
It's not very sensitive marker, but so if it's
Yes.
positive, but if it's positive, so okay, then I should treat her. You got the treatment with immunoglobulins.
Yes.
And she said that it was better with the legs.
With the
after
legs,
immunoglobulin.
but not with the arms.
Okay, so how many times she got immunoglobulins?
One time.
Ну,
One time.
сколько раз я уже делала? До этого еще было 3 раза.
4 times.
4 times.
But you should continue. You should continue or not?
Но не
You don't want to continue?
Not regular.
Not
I
regular.
just
Not
can't understand
regular,
как 25
but,
лет.
But
Once,
she suffered from
once or
this.
twice by year, and last time in January of this year, I do immunoglobulin.
Okay, but you should get 2 grams, and then after 6 weeks a boost of 1 gram, and then after 6 weeks again. Every 6 weeks you should get immunoglobulins.
Какой дозе? Господи, 2 грамма, как там?
So the treatment of multifocal motor neuropathy is
240 грамм, это получается
immunoglobulins.
полная доза. Full dose.
Full dose, and then
5 days.
Yes.
Summary. 240 grams.
and then you need a boost after 6 weeks. You need a boost.
I not repeat.
You don't want to repeat?
Вы не хотите повторять?
Нет, я хотела, но я хотела пройти обследование дополнительное, чтобы понимать вообще. Я просто начала это, да, мне стало легче. Но вот потом я пошла на консультацию, потом обследование Альбины Игоревны, потом вы. Я решила не делать, потому что предстоит вот здесь, чтобы была чистота какая-то картина.
She waited for new results of investigations.
Oh,
And
okay.
she decided to repeat again after the results of investigation.
Я просто не могу понять, в какой дозе повторять.
Okay, so here we don't find any conduction blocks, but she has very severe motor neurogenic patterns. She has no sensory disturbances, but in case there would be some radiculopathy or some root problems, she should have some sensory disturbances. So it's typical motor problem. We don't find any conduction block, but she has positive antibodies. She has antibodies. So we should be very lucky that we found these antibodies, and I think she should get a treatment with sandoglobulins, but then on repeated time. So a first dose, and then after 6 weeks a boost, and every 6 weeks a boost of 1 gram. And then after a few times we should evaluate if she is better or not. That's my proposal. That's my proposal. Because okay, it's the best treatment we should offer her. But is it reimbursed in Ukraine? I don't know. Is it reimbursed?
Ну, он считает, что надо продолжать лечение.
Я это поняла, только это потом с снижением дозы, да.
Каждые 6 недель.
Каждый, ну там по протоколу вот этой хронической лиминизирующей, да, получается.
Doctors must know how to organize it correctly.
Ну скажите, могло бы начаться в 16 лет это заболевание?
Так я почему вас спросила, что и 25 лет. How about the progression? 25 years.
Yes. Well, we are not sure about the diagnosis. We are not sure about the diagnosis.
Ага,
But
то есть мы не знаем диагноза, просто чтобы всем было понятно.
But in case that she has a spinal muscular atrophy, we're also not sure. There were no genetic testing, there was no family anamnesis, so it could be spinal muscular atrophy, sporadic SMA, or it can be multifocal motor neuropathy. But for an SMA, what are we going to do? What are you going to do?
If she will have a positive effect after immunoglobulin, I think continue the treatment.
Okay, so I just want to say we don't know the exact diagnosis, but give her the treatment. Give her the treatment. She's a young lady. Give her the treatment. And if it does not help after 3 times, then stop. So here you see the clear limitations of EMG. Like when we are leaving our lab, we should not say like, okay, whatever, for sure no conduction blocks. We cannot see any conduction block, but we have to admit that the upper part we don't examine. And that here, for example, we are looking for conduction block, but we are not sure. The second line is much more that we are stimulating. So we are not sure about this nerve. And the two most important nerves is ulnaris and radialis, to look to point of earth. And here it would be perfectly manageable to stimulate the radialis to the upper point. But those are the two most important. But you never evaluate the most proximal part for conduction block. And that's the reason why you have this laboratory investigation as well. But in your conclusion of EMG, we should be clear that we have done very good studies, but we are not completely sure about the whole situation.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I have one more question.
To stimulate or
No. When you will write the conclusion,
yes.
how you will write your MEG conclusion?
Yes. So here we see. I did not do a complete EMG, but here we have done nerve conduction study, motor nerve conduction study. Motor nerve conduction study shows low amplitude for conduction block, no conduction blocks. Okay, but I would make a difference between conduction block and temporal dispersion. But she has no temporal dispersion, no conduction blocks in motor nerve conduction study, but low amplitude. Then sensory nerve conduction study. There were normal sensory nerve conduction studies. Third part, myography, chronic neurogenic pattern in proximal and distal muscles of all the roots and of all the trunks in the plexus. We made a list of the muscles that we need, very important, but we are sure it's not like just one root or one part. And then we come to a final conclusion, like okay, there is a chronic neurogenic pattern, chronic neurogenic disease in upper and lower limbs with no evidence for conduction blocks on this examination. I think this is very important. Like for example, when we were screening for polyneuropathy, okay, polyneuropathy, an old lady of 75 years old, She has difficulties to walk, okay? And she has no Surali snaps. What's your conclusion? She has complete normal neurological investigations, but no Surali snaps. You can say it's polyneuropathy. On the other hand, a lot of older people, they have no Surali snaps. So your conclusion is like very strong. It's like putting the lady, okay, she has polyneuropathy, and now let's check if she does not drink too much alcohol or something like that. We cannot be sure. On the other hand, a patient who has very clear problems of sensory disturbances and who has diabetes since 2 years, okay, and your polyneuropathy protocol is completely normal. What's your conclusion? No polyneuropathy. Okay. No.
Signs of polyneuropathy.
Yes, no EMG signs of thick fiber polyneuropathy. We also can have a small fiber polyneuropathy. So we should be very strict in our conclusion about what we measure, because the clinician in his department, when she comes back to the polyclinics and the clinician reads the conclusion, okay, there are 10 patients waiting, he does not have time to see, okay, what's wrong here in the whole EMG. He just reads, or she just reads the conclusion, and then the conclusion is the most important. So in the conclusion we should not be too hard in our conclusion. We should just like show that we did our best, that we are sure about our measurements, but that there is still a lot of uncertainty in our EMG.
And another question.
А можно
In a
я
final
извиняюсь,
conclusion.
я могу просто перебить, всем расскажу, что они же не понимают, не все.
Он просто ответит за final. In a final conclusion, will you put that spinal muscle amyotrophy, знак вопроса как будет? Question marker, or multifocal motor neuropathy, again, question.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
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 Okay.
No.
Only describe our
Yes, only describe.
result,
Only
our
describe.
finding.
Only describe. Because, okay, now I don't speak Ukrainian. You all know much better her story than I know her story. So how can I put the diagnosis of spinal muscular atrophy? I'm just here with my computer, with the machine, just with the numbers. So I think it's a big risk just to put this kind of diagnosis. Like I could do.
You put the question marker. Наши неврологи, мы не сможем по-другому. Они...
You can do this, but okay, I think there's nothing bad about it. But you can just help the clinician. But the most important is that you don't make too hard conclusions. Like saying here, there are for sure no conduction blocks. I don't agree. I don't agree. You don't know. You don't know. We did our best for the measurements until here, but for the upper part, we don't know. So this is very important. If there is complete normal polyneuropathy protocol, and you just write down, for sure there is no polyneuropathy, this patient is a bit like sick in his head, I don't agree. There can be a small fiber polyneuropathy in diabetes patients, and you don't see anything wrong. On the other hand, that old lady, no Surali snaps anymore. You say, sensory polyneuropathy, I don't agree. She's old and she can walk perfectly and she has no problems of clear polyneuropathy, so it's normal EMG, unless there is no Surali snap. So,
No, sorry, can I translate something?
yes.
Просто что он говорит, что в данном случае... Спасибо большое, да? Да. Значит, он говорит о том, что в принципе в данном случае, что касается данной пациентки, мы не можем четко сделать какое-то заключение, даже не писать это в комментариях, допустим, под вопросом, или это мультифокальная моторная невропатия, или это, допустим, спинальная мышечная невропатия. Ну, как бы мы можем, потому что у нас их нету, ни генетики, ничего. Но в том плане, что за свое обследование мы должны в заключении написать, что мы получили хронические нейрогенные изменения во всех обследованных мышцах. Нету очевидных блоков, допустим, по определенным нервам, по моторным и по сенсорным. Но, в принципе, то, что мы не находим блоков, это не значит, что их там нет, потому что мы не посмотрели уровень плечевого сплетения, допустим, и до корешков, там тоже может быть блок. Поэтому, как бы в данном случае мы описываем свои находки и все. И он рассказывает о том, что, допустим, как мы делаем заключение, если у пациента полиневропатия, допустим, есть или нет. Мы посмотрели сенсорные, моторные, ничего не нашли, но суральных там нет. То есть, в принципе, у пожилого человека суральные нервы там после 65 лет могут не регистрироваться. Мы можем сказать, что там есть, нет полиневропатии? Мы не можем это сказать. Мы просто пишем, что мы как бы нашли только вот, что нету этих суральных нервов. А дальше уже мы смотрим только быстро проводящие волокна. Это может быть жалобы пациента, связанные с невропатией мелких волокон. То есть мы как бы просто вот эту находку нашли, а дальше уже врач. Ну просто у наших врачей не сильно понимают быстро проводящие, медленно проводящие волокна. Но там, где мы не видим просто суралисов, это еще не значит, что там есть или нет полиневропатии. То есть мы не можем сделать последнее заключение. Вроде бы все. Еще кто-то добавил, что он столько говорил, я не могу запомнить.
Все очень правильно.
Thank you very much.